My name's Louisa, and Sarah's asked me to talk about Christianity Explored, which I went on about 8 years ago now. I wasn't brought up a Christian. I would say that I didn't care if there was a God or not. Um, I suppose my household growing up was fairly anti-church. There were some particular reasons for that. So I just went into life pleasing myself, thinking vaguely I was a nice person, but not especially interested. I think that changed particularly when I met my husband, who had been brought up a Christian, and I met his mum and dad, who I was very nervous about meeting because he had explained that his upbringing was Christian, very church focused, and I was very concerned. I had a lot of prejudices, and I kind of was worried that I wouldn't be accepted. They'd be very, I don't know, snooty or something like that. And the opposite was true when I met them. So there was definitely something there when I met this Christian couple about how they kind of lived, how they thought, their gentleness, kindness. I suppose if I wasn't more interested in that, and they were very sensitive. They didn't try and push anything. In fact, the only thing they did say when we had children was, "Oh, great if you took your kids to Sunday school. We would just love that." And they left it there. Again, they didn't push it. And after a while, I thought, well, there's the harm. I could be doing worse things on a Sunday. Um, and if the kids want to go and hear a few stories about Noah, what's the harm? So I took my child to Sunday school at a St Leonard's Church in Exeter, and I started listening at the back of the church. Unfortunately, as I thought at the time, I couldn't just leave the kids and go to B&Q. I had to actually sit through a church service, which is a bit of a new thing for me. Gradually, there were things that were said about Jesus, about how that looks, living out a life in response to Jesus, that did pique my interest. I'm afraid it just stayed there, and I probably would still be going, sitting at the back of the church if it hadn't been for the vicar challenging me one day when I left, saying, "I've seen you come for a while. What do you believe?" So I think I mumbled something about, well, there's probably something, but who knows? And I was kind of wishy-washy about it. And he said, "God, you sound a bit confused. We're running a Christianity Explored course. Come along, find out for yourself, and then make a decision." And so that's what I did. I didn't really have any preconceptions about how the course would run. I would say that when I got there, then it was a really pleasant surprise. It wasn't pressurized. I wasn't expected to pray or sing. It was a very open forum based around a meal. And when you're sharing a meal with people, it's a very communicative thing to do. A very nice kind of sharing time. And I felt able to ask any questions that I could. And they probably laughed at some of my questions. They were very basic. Sometimes they were very challenging. But what struck me when I did get there, firstly, I think, above and beyond the message, anything that anyone told me, was there were people who'd given up their time to tell me something. There's people in the kitchen making food. And as a non-Christian at the time, this wasn't really something that I was aware of that you would do. You would give up your time for something that was important. But these people had, and that spoke volumes to me. I thought, well, at least they must think something was important here. And on the course itself, my questions were answered patiently. The Bible was explained patiently. I wasn't sold to, and that was very important. I come from a sales background, so I can spot that. It was just very gentle, very honest, and I was left to make a decision for myself. And I think what happened was gradually, as I heard the story of Jesus, God revealed to me through these people who the person of Jesus was, why he was important, and that I was to make a personal response. And gradually, it became clear that it was the truth. As uncomfortable as that was, because it was clear I was going to have to make changes, I couldn't just get by anymore on thinking, oh, well, I go to church a bit, or I think I'm a nice person. It was clear that if I was going to have the life that Jesus said I could have now and forever, that I was going to have to make a heart response. And it was only on that course, through exploring the Bible, that I was able to come to that decision for myself, of course, with God behind all that as well. So what I would just say is I would encourage you to come along if you've got questions, if you've never been to church, or even if you have been to church, but the sort of message, the kind of crux of it has somewhat passed you by. or even if you want to develop that relationship with Jesus further and you get to dig into the Bible and ask the questions in a very unpressurized format, all I can say is it might be the most important invitation that you ever have. So I would urge you, if you have an inkling to go for it, to go for it. You've got nothing to lose. Thank you.